Welcome back to Make It Happen. I'm Dwayne Morrison, your host. I'm here today with William Morrison, co-host, and we're talking about home inspection defects.
Yep, we are. I got some more photos for you this week.
Okay, well, what kind of photos are we looking at today?
We're looking at a little bit of electrical, a little bit of plumbing, talking a little bit about HVAC, ducting, and condensate.
Okay.
And I got some thermal photos for you today as well.
Thermal today,
Yeah.
infrared.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is going to be a good one. Okay, let's go. Let's get started.
Yep. All right. So getting started, I inspected a condo built in the 60s a few days ago, and I saw this brand of electrical panel that's very commonly installed during this time period. The brand is known as Zinsco.
Okay.
I'm sure you're aware of that brand.
Yep.
It's been known to have some problems.
Yep, Zinsco's aren't the best panels. Some Zincos get defective and have caused fires. Insurance companies, I'm not going to name any names, are now starting to not want to insure properties that have Zinsco panels in them.
Yep.
So I was surprised it's taken 20 years. But Federal Pacific Electric, FPE, is also another one that's known to have loose breakers and causes arcing and things like that. So
Yep. So, I mean, this one was pretty easy to identify. You got the brand nice and big up there, top. Another giveaway about that this is a Zinsco panel is the breakers. They're all colorful, and that style also kind of gives it.
Yeah, they're kind of like nubby. They're
Yeah.
like little, kind of like have nubs on them. Okay.
Yep. So, I mean, we got that here.
Okay.
But
What's the recommendation on Zinsco? You just recommend an electrician?
lately I've just been recommending replacement.
Really?
I mean,
Okay.
it's about a 6-year-old panel now. It's also known to have problems. I mean, just on top of that, you can't get home fire insurance now.
Well, you can. I just don't. I think some insurance companies aren't renewing policies if you have these panels. They want it. We're getting a lot of calls now at our office about doing insurance inspections.
Yep.
I haven't actually, in any of my inspections, been asked to inspect the panel, but I have gotten calls from investors who own apartment buildings saying that State Farm, I'll go ahead and say it, State Farm will not reinsure or renew the policy. I don't know if they're pulling out of California entirely, but they were essentially telling the investor that they don't want to insure the Zinsco panels. So
Yep. Now, not only we know these panels have problems, right?
Well, I mean, if you have a Zinsco panel, you really should be considering updating the panel, putting something new in as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, this is gonna shock you even more. So.
Okay.
Oh.
What are we looking at here, William?
So we got the panel now installed right above the stove cooktop.
That's kind of egregious. Okay, so the building code or the International Residential Code, in this code hasn't really changed. You have to have working access to an electrical panel. You have to be able to walk up to it, and just stand there and flip breakers and stuff. And this is, what if you have a hot pot on there? You got to reach over a hot pot to flip a breaker. This is no good.
No, it's no good. And then I just want to mention, you don't really want outlets installed.
Yep, outlets cannot be installed behind stove cooktops.
Yep.
So,
all right. Now I did put my thermal camera here on this panel.
oh, you did?
Yep.
Well, looky there.
Yep.
Wow. So what do you think that is? What's causing that, William?
Well, I'm not surprised to see that the left side was hotter than the other side because that's the 120 volt.
Okay.
And that's what most of the circuits are wired up to. And actually, in the other photo,
But it's still 90 degrees and you're inside. Was it hot in that house?
it was actually, it got up to 111. I'm going to put
Did
the
it?
correct
Did it
photo
really?
over to
Okay.
Mackenzie. So,
Okay.
I think, I'm not sure. That lug's getting a little too hot for comfort. So,
Yep. Defective panel.
Yep. All right. Same house. And since we're sticking to thermal, what's really nice is sometimes, especially in Beverly Hills, which is where I was at, it's really common to see electric radiant heating coils.
Beverly Hills or coastal areas, areas with a really temperate or moderate climate. There's a ton of these in San Diego along, the West Coast, Newport Beach, Orange County, LA County. But we see these a lot.
Yeah, so I was really happy they ordered a thermal inspection on this one because it's so unlimited what you can see because they're in the ceiling. So
Yeah, and they take a long time to heat up.
yeah, so
Ooh, look at there. Okay, talk us through this one.
so I heated it up, I ran it, and now I'm putting my thermal camera on the ceiling to see if they're working or not.
How long did it take for you to get it to glow like that?
Not too long, actually, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, but you probably couldn't even feel it, huh?
No, no.
Yeah.
So, but what I noticed here is if you look at the left-hand side, you see how it's getting a little bit warmer than
Yes.
the rest.
Yes. It's kind of like got a white hot color to it.
And it looks like they got knocked loose a little bit to me as well.
Yeah, it looks like maybe somebody stepped on them, or maybe they fell down. They're not the support. They dropped, or maybe they never did support them correctly.
Yep. I mean, can't really see much since it's enclosed in the ceiling, but I mean, I think this is something you can't see without ordering a thermal enhancement. Pretty
Right.
neat.
Yep.
Wouldn't it hurt to have a heating and air conditioning guy come take a look?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I was buying this place, I would just be happy that they're working because you don't really know, right? I mean, what about that section in the front corner there, that area that's just all purple? I mean, was that an open part of the ceiling too?
It was. This is up in the bedroom.
So you think maybe that they didn't put, you think maybe they just didn't extend them all the way over there? It's not a dead spot then.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't. Now I know you want to stick to heating and air conditioning now.
Sure.
This was actually an inspection I did a few hours before this.
Oh, this is hot off the press. The customer hasn't even gotten the report yet, right?
Nope. You know what this ducting is, right?
Yes, I do. We see that quite a bit.
Yep. We see it quite a bit. I mean, I didn't do any testing, but I mean, putting my best foot forward, I think it's safe to assume that this ducting here contains asbestos.
100% asbestos ducting. Any respectable inspector worth their salt's going to know that. It's identifiable just based off observation.
Yep.
It's the silver cardboard looking stuff. That just means that unit's super duper old. We need to start seeing this stuff. We need to stop seeing this stuff.
Yep.
HVAC units, what's the estimated service life on an HVAC unit?
I give them 15 to 20 years.
15 to 20 years. This is probably a 40-year-old system.
Yep.
Right?
New heater, actually.
So they replace, see, that's what they do is they'll replace the furnace, they'll replace the air conditioner, but they leave the ducting because it's hazmat.
Yeah.
Right. You got to bag and tag and pay a hazardous waste fee. And it's more expensive to dispose of and remove this stuff, but it's not that bad. I mean, we're talking maybe an extra $1,000.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you really should replace anybody that has asbestos ducting should replace it when you update your HVAC system.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't. So,
Job security for us, right?
yeah. And then I know you sent this photo over. This is actually of our office bathroom.
I did. I wanted to get this in there. To the untrained eye and to people that don't do property inspections or don't know anything about HVAC, you would never know what we were looking at in this picture.
In fact, I think this would concern some people.
Yeah, you have a good point. So what are we talking about here, William?
So we got a pipe sticking out of the ceiling right above the sink, and
so there's a copper pipe, open pipe, just pointing straight down above the sink.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you actually see this pipe right above the tub too.
Above the tub area.
Yeah.
This is actually acceptable. This is an approved method to do this. And why is that?
Well, it's an obvious location. That's what I mean, or conspicuous.
So you would know that it's dripping, and that's the whole purpose of this. And it actually goes to a drain.
Yep.
It's still going to splatter water on the floor, but probably not a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there is an actual drain on the floor too in this bathroom.
Yep. And for those of you that don't know what we're looking at, this is the alternate condensate drain line for the heating and air conditioning system.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And so air conditioning systems that are on the second level and up, really any level really, should have a drain line because water builds up in the actual AC system, and it's got to drain out somewhere. And so when it's on the second level, I think even if it's the first level, you want an alternate because drains clog, right?
Yep.
And When it clogs, you want another drain to start taking over to overflow the condensate to get it out of there, right? You don't want it to just drip all over the place. And so when that happens, that alternate condensate drain line is supposed to terminate somewhere where you will notice it. So it will alert you to call your HVAC contractor or a plumber or some contractor, somebody to say, hey, water's coming out of the ceiling, right? Or above a window, or, what is this?
I think they're great. I mean, it's a great way to alarm you instead of having a kill switch installed, which would totally render the system inoperable until you have it serviced. With this method, you can, you need to have it unclogged, but you can still run the system.
Yeah, even if you don't know what this is in an office building, actually. If an employee walks in there and be like, what? There's water coming out of the ceiling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Call the landlord, get somebody out here, and this air conditioner will get fixed. They'll unclog the primary, and all will be well.
Yep. Okay. I mean, I think that's pretty much it as far as heating and air conditioning are concerned. I'm going to transition a little bit over to plumbing. So this was a water heater I just inspected prior to this. Do you know what that is?
I do know what that is.
Yep.
That is a Watts 210 regulator.
You don't see them too often.
You probably don't because you're in Orange County.
Yeah.
But in Los Angeles and basements and areas where you can't put a discharge line, because again, discharge lines are drain lines, they have to flow downward. So this water heater can't have a discharge line flow downward to the exterior of the home.
I want to correct you on that.
Okay.
Watts 210 actually requires you have a discharge line also with the regulator. That's in the manufacturer specifications.
How do you put a discharge line on that?
There's a second opening right here. You have two openings. This is where it would go. And you would have a temperature pressure relief valve installed, because the reason why the manufacturer wants that is the Watts 210 regulator is going to kill the gas, but it doesn't relieve the pressure.
Right.
So you need that pressure relief valve as well.
I've never seen a discharge line with a Watts 210 regulator.
I have never seen one either.
Never once. Not one time in 20 years.
I've never seen one. Actually, I think I've seen it installed once.
One time?
Yeah. Just once. But you would have it installed right here. This isn't
you
a
still
garage.
call it out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Manufacturer wants it. And, I mean, why not?
Doing your homework. See, look at that. Look at that.
Okay. Over here, this is a...
Oh, go back to that just a second. Okay.
Yep. Okay, over here we have we're looking at a brass gas connector in the fireplace.
Brass flex gas line connector.
Yes.
So what is that? What is a gas line connector?
A gas line connector is typically what they use to connect the valve to the fitting, or where the gas connects to the appliance.
Right. So
it's easy to install. And
essentially, you have a rigid pipe that's a gas line that comes to the appliance, and it comes out of the wall usually, right?
Yeah.
And that you don't want just a rigid pipe going to the water heater or going to the furnace or going to your stove or a dryer. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a connector pipe that's supposed to be flexible. Mm-hmm. So if the appliance moves around, or if there's an earthquake, or something gets bumped or whatever, that line can move a little bit, and it's safer.
It's also easier to install.
Yeah.
You know why we don't like these brass connectors?
My understanding is there's something that has to do with the brass metal, and the gas causes some kind of I don't know.
I just know that they leak. They're common to leak.
Yeah, I think the gas the brass doesn't react well to the gas, or maybe the chemical they put in the gas. Or, well, I don't know. My captain probably wouldn't do anything to it, but yeah.
It also just tells me it's older. They don't use these anymore. It's time for replacement.
They're not allowed. And man, these weren't allowed when I started inspecting over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll see them install a brand new water heater, and they won't update the connector.
No.
And it's like, what? I mean, wow. So
Yeah. I mean, you can't really see it. I know it's a little blurry. My camera had a hard time focusing, but back there is also one of those older metal gas valves.
Yep.
Time for updating all around, pretty much.
Right. Right.
Yep. I'm not sure why it didn't. There it
Okay.
goes.
Here we go. All right. So,
This is the last thing I have for you. So,
oh,
this
is
my
it? Okay.
picture of my pressure gauge at the house I just inspected.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't know the importance of good water pressure.
So let me kind of break down what an inspector looks for and what it means. So, inspector will report on what you're going to talk about here is the PSI, right?
Correct.
And you have PSI stands for the pressure,
Pounds per square inch.
pounds per square inch. That's how it's measured, right?
Yeah.
But it's the pressure of the water coming into the home with everything off.
Yep.
Right? So all the valves, all the faucets, all the fixtures are turned off. This is what the city is hitting your house with from the pump or wherever it's pumping at, or if it's a tank that's on a hill. This is the pressure that's coming to your faucets and fixtures in your house, right? And then you want to inspect for functional flow. So when you open those faucets and fixtures, the flow of the water coming out, we inspect for that as well. And we'll talk a little bit more here. I might let you talk about how one of the first things you do is you check the static pressure
Yep.
for the pounds per square inch, the PSI, which you're reading here. It looks like 100. So there's a range in the code, right, that you're supposed to be inspecting for. But if it's high, tell us what the range is, and then tell us what you look for if it's high.
So the range is, as far as I know, they just recently updated it, and pretty much anything below 80 is acceptable now.
I know when I started it, the range was supposed to be 35 to 80, but now if it's really low, they don't seem to really care.
Yeah, and as far as I'm aware, as that's concerned, it's because the newer modernized faucets and fixtures that they're installing now can operate at lower pressure.
I see. Okay.
And that's why they've changed it. There is no minimum, but I think the city is required to pump at least 20 psi to your house now.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Well, I mean, if you're starting to get below 20, I mean, you're not going to have a lot of water coming out of your faucets and fixtures.
No.
What's crazy is, we've done a lot of government contract work where we've done inspections for water districts, and water districts tend to own property at pump stations or reservoirs and things like that. And we've inspected their PSI on their faucets and their main shutoff valves, and it's always below 30.
Yeah.
They like to operate at a very low pressure, and that was enlightening to me.
Yeah, and I mean, what's great about having proper pressure is it alleviates unnecessary strain on your pipes. I know this is kind of speculation, but when you have higher pressure, it also corrodes the shutoff valves, as far as I'm told, a little bit quicker than
Well,
it's supposed to.
well, I think what's happening there is if you're a lot of people want the high pressure, right?
Yes.
Whether you're, in the shower and you want a deluge hitting you.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You can,
These buyers were like,
you can-
great,
you-
pressure's high.
yeah, I can exfoliate my skin.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But what that does is at the fittings, sometimes that moisture can get out of the fittings, and that's when you get the corrosion from the minerals.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, high pressure doesn't necessarily mean you got good pressure at your faucets. I mean, a lot of times it's up to the fixture that you have installed as well.
Well, a lot of people don't realize this, but when you have, let's not even talk about whatever the pressure is, the only thing stopping that water from coming into your home is a little rubber valve inside the faucet or whatever the fixture is, right?
Yeah.
Those are little rubber rings, and that's stopping essentially the city from pushing water into your house. So the more pressure you put on that little ring,
Yeah.
it's not going to last as long.
Yeah.
Let's talk about shower heads. So say on this house, you have 100 PSI static. I mean, obviously it's not 120 or 130 or really super, super high, right? You find 100 PSI all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what can you do to alleviate this?
Well, they make regulators, which is a little knobby looking thing that you put at the main water shutoff, preferably before all the hose spigots, because sometimes they install it after a hose spigot going into the home. But
Right.
and then you get a wrench and you turn it down to the acceptable pressure, the pressure that you would like.
Yeah. So the homeowner would put this on the main pipe, and then they can adjust and regulate the pressure.
Yeah.
Those don't always last that long. Sometimes they only last a few years, and you got to update those. So
Yeah, I think the typical lifespan on those is about 15 to 20 years.
supposed to.
Yeah.
Supposed to. If the pressure's super high,
Yeah.
like say the city's pumping in 140 or 150 psi, they don't last as long.
No.
So let's talk about functional flow. So what is functional flow?
Functional flow is when you got good flow coming out at all the faucets and fixtures in a bathroom or the kitchen or.
So functional flow is not something we measure technically, right? If you can wash your hands,
Yeah.
or you can take a shower, it's more than a drip.
I know there is code on it.
Yeah.
There is code like you're supposed to have like a gallon per minute. coming
Yeah,
out of
but
the same boat. That's
we
too
don't measure all that as
Yeah.
property inspectors. It's just look, if I was buying the house, would I be okay taking a shower with water that's coming out of the shower head?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it can just be minerals built up in the shower head or minerals built up into the screen of the faucet that can affect that flow.
And if you got an older home and you got galvanized plumbing, sometimes that also affects the flow as well.
It's interesting because if you have galvanized plumbing, sometimes we'll see 100 or 120 psi static pressure coming in, and we have low flow in the house.
Yeah.
So,
Why is that?
because the pipes are clogged up, because the galvanized pipe rusts from the inside out.
Yeah.
And
We'll get a photo sent over to you, Mackenzie, on that. So
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, that's great stuff today, William.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, this concludes our podcast today. Again, like, subscribe, hit the notifications button, and we'll catch you in the next one.